It's not the worst thing in the world, but also it can be a bit challenging, and it's different for different people. So don't worry if you don't fully understand it, but it's just kind of problem solving and working outside the box a bit. So if you're good at that sort of thing, then that's good. And even if you're not, it's not too difficult. So this is what we call trig identities. And they're basically the formulas between the trig functions. And while it is a pretty small part of the course, if you do understand it, you can pick up some really, really easy marks. So these are trig identities. We have sine squared a plus cos squared a is equal to 1. And then we have tan a is equal to sine a divided by cos a. And how these will work in questions is usually we'll be given a statement. So something is equal to something else, and then we'll be told to prove that these are equal to each other. And that might not make much sense, but you'll see what I mean in the example. You do not get these in your formula sheet, so you do have to remember them. However, they're not the most difficult things in the world to remember. Sine squared a plus cos squared a is equal to 1. Tan a is equal to sine a over cos a. And eventually, after doing these questions, you will just be able to know them off the top of your head. So as I said, these questions usually structured where you're given an equation with a combination of trig functions in them and have to make it equal to something else. So I'll show you the best way to do this and the way that makes the most sense and guarantees the most marks. And bear in mind, before we start, that these trig identities sometimes need to be rearranged. So just for an example here, when we rearrange this is the same as, for example, sine squared a is equal to 1 minus cos squared a, and then cos squared a is equal to 1 minus sine squared a. And these are things to keep in mind because it might not always be perfect like this, and you may have to mess around with it a bit and rearrange it. And then just the same for tan. Although this is the main one you have to remember you can rearrange them. So for example here we would also get cos a is equal to sine a over tan a, and then we would also have sine a is equal to tan a multiplied by cos a. So these are the little things to remember before we actually jump into the examples. But now that you've seen these, do try and remember these because they're not in your formula sheet. But I'll show you the best way to do these questions now and looking at our first example and how these questions are structured.